Welcome to Lunchtime Live. I'm Adrian Mather. I work in the communications team here at FreeAgent, and I'm joined again by one of the chief accountants, Emily Coltman, FCA, who is both bilingual in accounting and plain English, which is why we bring her along for these sessions. As I said, we're both from FreeAgent. It's online accounting for freelancers and small businesses. We do regular Q&As every Wednesday, usually with Emily, up on Facebook and on Google Plus as well. But once a month, I think we're going to try and keep it to once a month now. We do the video hangouts, which are great. So you can come and ask us any questions that you have, and Emily, rather than myself, will do her best to answer them all. This month here at FreeAgent, we have been looking at getting paid. It's sort of involving invoicing, chasing customers, how to get how to get paid for the work that you do is sort of the big focus for us this month. So this particular hangout is going to be all about small business invoicing, which will include just general invoicing, what to include on your templates, that sort of stuff, as well as what you can do to get your customers to pay you quicker, or to encourage them to pay you quicker. And we'll also touch on some multi-currency invoicing as well. We've started to get some questions, which is really good. But what I'm going to do is start off very, very briefly with Em. Can you just run us through what you would suggest including on a standard invoice template? If you were coming to invoicing for the first time, what do you actually need to put on there?
Yep, sure. Well, if you're registered for VAT, if your business is registered for VAT, then there are certain things you have to put on, like your VAT number. And you can actually find that information on HMRC's website, which is hmrc.gov.uk. Click on VAT, click on charging VAT on your sales, and then you can find a link to what VAT invoices must show. Most of it's fairly bog standard, things like your business's name and address, your customer's business name and address, a description of the services or goods that you're supplying, such that you and your customer can both easily identify them. You must have the quantity of how many units you're supplying. So for example, that might be so many hours, so many days, so many products. That is actually a prerequisite from HMRC. Sometimes in FreeAgent we get asked, can you hide that? The answer is no, you've got to put it in. So sorry, we're not deliberately being obstructive. That is HMRC saying that must go in. If you're VAT registered, as I say, you must put on your VAT registration number. You must subtotal the amount of your invoices. You must put the VAT as a separate line. You must show the rate of VAT that you're charging for each item. And then you must show a grand total that your customer is going to pay. And each invoice must have a unique sequential number. Now, you can have different sequences running in your business. For example, if Adrian is one of my customers, I might have invoices that are invoice number AM001, AM002. And if I have another customer who's called John Smith, then my invoices to him might be JS001, JS002. That's perfectly okay. It's just that each invoice must have a unique and sequential number. So your business name and address, your customer's business name and address, description of what you're selling, quantity, rate of VAT if you're registered for VAT, a subtotal for each line, a subtotal for the invoice, VAT total, grand total. So that's a brief overview of what you'd need to include on an invoice template. And by the way, if your business is a limited company, remember your invoices are registered documents going from the company, so must include your business's registered office address and registered number.
And remember as well, if you do use FreeAgent too, we have a number of sort of email templates that you can choose from as well. So, so do check those out. Let's say anything we mentioned during the session as well, we'll post links to on the Hangout page as well.
Great.
So if there's a specific link that we talk about, something from our website or whatever else, then we'll post that there.
Yeah.
I think what we'll do, we've had a few questions through already. Apologies everyone if you see me looking down this direction as well. I've got another laptop which I'm searching for other questions to. So yeah, so if you see my eyes go that way, I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I think we'll probably start with Adonis actually down at the bottom, who says, can you take me through a quick overview of how to do my invoicing using FreeAgent?
Okay.
So quite a big kind of question there, I think.
Well, you've asked two questions actually, Adonis, both that one and how FreeAgent is comparable to Sage or similar accounting systems. To be honest, this isn't the best place for us to answer those questions. The best place for that would be our weekly webinar, which happens every Tuesday at 2 o'clock British Summer Time, where one of our support team actually gives you a demonstration of FreeAgent, takes you through key features like invoicing. That's honestly going to be a better way for you to see it than just us talking about it, because they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. So I would suggest come to one of our webinars. If you go to our website, go to the support section, you'll find how to register for a webinar. Come along and just see FreeAgent in operation. Then you'll get a good handle on how you do invoicing in FreeAgent and also how it compares to other systems that you might know.
Excellent. So we'll post the link through to that page as well.
Great.
Although if you go to freeagent.com and actually look down on the support page, then you'll see a separate section for our webinars, and you can see all the ones that are coming up as well. So we got our getting started webinars. You just also, if you signed up and if you're using FreeAgent as well, then if you have any issues, then do give the support team a phone as well. We do sort of one-to-one calls as well.
That's right. Yes. If you're in your free trial, then we offer a free 20-minute getting started call where one of our support team will guide you through getting your business set up and running on FreeAgent.
Excellent. It's a bit of a tricky one here that's coming from Lorianne. We'll do our best to answer it, but he says, I already have expenses in Bitcoins and have no clue how to file them. In a recent project, the client wants to pay only in Bitcoins. How would that work within FreeAgent, and what are the HMRC tax issues? Okay,
well, the honest answer is FreeAgent does not support Bitcoins. We have just recently started supporting bank accounts in foreign currencies, haven't we, Adrian?
We have indeed, yes.
But I'm afraid Bitcoins isn't one of them. And ditto, you wouldn't be able to record expenses or invoices in Bitcoins. So I'm afraid all I can suggest is that you translate those into sterling before you post them into FreeAgent. There's not really anything else you'd be able to do. I'm sorry about that.
And as for HMRC tax issues?
HMRC are still deciding on how they're actually going to handle Bitcoins, on whether they accept that Bitcoins are a currency and therefore any trade in it's not subject to VAT, or whether they're going to actually record buying and selling Bitcoins as a profitable activity. They've not finally decided. So I'm sorry, Lauren, there's not really any guidance I can give you on that.
Yeah, sorry about that. And that also goes for Dogecoins as well, not just Bitcoins.
Whatever are those?
Don't ask. Don't ask.
Okay.
That's great. I think going back to the general invoicing parts that we were talking about before, we've gone through very nicely about what to include on an invoice template, which has been great. Is there anything that you can do at that kind of stage when you're creating an invoice that you can include which will encourage your customers to potentially pay you quicker?
Absolutely, I can, yes. There's several things to suggest. One is think about how you're going to take payments from your customers. I wouldn't recommend using checks because they're actually a real mare. You have to, or rather your customer has to write them out and post them. You then have to wait for them to come through in the post, and then you have to go trotting down your local bank and you have to give it over to the cashier. Much easier if your customers can pay you in a quicker fashion. So what I like to do is to take payment by backs, and the really good way to do that is to actually put your bank details on the bottom of your invoice. And in FreeAgent, if you just put your bank details in for your primary bank account and you tick a little box that says show these details on invoices, good news is they'll appear automatically. The other way you can think about getting paid is online. Think about using something like Stripe or PayPal, or if you take direct debits, think about Go Cardless. All of those you can actually integrate with your FreeAgent account, so that literally all you do is say you want to put a link into the email that you use to send the invoice. Your customers can actually then get the invoice, get the email, click the link, and they'll be taken straight to your PayPal or Stripe portal to pay you. So that's a really easy way of collecting payments. So as I say, think about making it as easy as possible. Include your bank details on your invoice, include a payment link in the email if you're going to take payment online, and remember FreeAgent helps you make you that easy for you.
Yeah, I suppose there's also a case of knowing what your client's like as well.
Exactly,
you know,
Adrian, yes.
if you've got a client that responds well to being personable, then personalize your invoice. Put a bit of character in it, make it stand out so they're actually going to know.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We heard of one person who sent invoices with pictures of his children sitting at a table with empty food bowls, with the sign saying, "Please help me feed my children. Please pay your invoices on time." But as Adrian quite rightly says, it does depend on the character of your customers as to whether you would be happy to do something like that. If you have customers who are perhaps more traditional, they might not like that. So tailor it for your business and tailor it for your customers.
And I suppose as well, one of the big things to do with any invoicing is to get your invoice out quick.
Quite right, Adrian.
As quick as you can.
Yes, exactly. In terms of encouraging customers to pay you in good time, firstly, make sure you deliver a good service. If you deliver a good service, your customers will be happy to pay you. They'll be pleased. You deliver the result your customers want. They're going to have their hand in their back pockets before you can say Jack Robinson. Second point is do invoice promptly. You may have seen that at FreeAgent we say it will only take you an hour a week to keep up to date with your bookkeeping. If at all possible, even have some time every day to send your invoices. Send your invoices as soon as you can, so that might be as soon as you finish the piece of work, or you might even have agreed with your customer to invoice upfront for some or all of the work. Send your invoices as soon as you can, because that way your customers can pay you quicker. So don't wait till the end of the month. Send your invoices as soon as you've done the work, because then it'll be fresh in your customer's mind. And don't, whatever you do, forget to invoice your customers. We had some work done on our house last year. We had the chimney rebuilt, and we asked the guy who did it to please send us a bill, and he never did. We kept saying to him, "Martin, can we have your bill, please? Martin, can we have your bill, please?" We never got his bill, so he never got paid. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
We also, our data lab actually looked at some of the stats that we had on the system, and actually found that if you send your invoice, I think it's within a week of completing the work, then you're twice as likely to get paid. There's we'll post the link up to it, but it's quite startling just how much of a difference it makes to do it within those first sort of 5-7 days, and how that correlates to how quickly you get paid. As opposed to if you leave it. So
right.
we'll certainly post the data lab findings there. We'll put them on the page so you can have a look.
That would be good.
But take a look through that. And we'll go back to the questions we've got here. Septimus asks, what do you recommend in dealing with bad debtors?
Yes, that's a very good question, Septimus. So how should you deal with customers who either persistently pay late or persistently don't pay you at all? Well, the first thing to remember is it is your business. It is up to you to decide whether you actually want to keep dealing with those customers going forward. You do not have to put up with late payment or non-payment. So long as you've delivered the service or the goods to the required standard, there is absolutely no excuse for your customers not to pay. So make sure you invoice them promptly. Make sure that you use the FreeAgent automatic invoice reminder tool, which will automatically send emails to your customers at intervals determined by you, so you can have a polite email just before the invoice is due, and then perhaps progressively stronger worded emails as the invoice gets more and more overdue. If, as a very last resort, your customer absolutely won't pay you, then do consider either charging them interest or taking them to court, and that might well be the small claims court. There is information on the gov.uk website about how to do that. Taking someone to the small claims court is actually quite a simple process. You don't need a lawyer, so do consider doing that. But remember, you are very, very unlikely to be able to deal with that customer again once you've taken them to court. The relationship will be broken into pieces. So, as I say, use that as a last resort. Remember as well, it does take up your time if you're having to fill in court forms and papers and what have you. So, as I say, have that in the back of your mind. Don't disregard it, would be another thing I would say, because lots of people do just write off a bad debt rather than even trying to claim it. Don't disregard the option of the small claims court, but equally, as I say, proceed with caution.
Okay. Adonis has actually come back and asked about the webinars, saying, do we have them stored for anyone to access because 2 p.m. isn't a convenient time for them?
We do, yes, we do. I think we've got them on our YouTube channel, haven't we, Adrian?
I think we've certainly had some of them there.
Yes, we do.
The one from this week as well. Once we go through it and formalise it as well, we'll post it up there as well.
Yes, but, yes, that will be available for you, Adonis. Thank you for that.
It's certainly the plan for us is to have a suite of them. So pretty much all the webinars we do, we'll put up and have everyone looking at them. So
super,
excellent.
We've got 2 Adams.
2 Adams. So Adam Faulkner asks, how should I handle deposits? I often take a deposit in one
financial year,
and the rest of the job is paid for in the next financial year. So I have one invoice for the deposit and one for the balance. Is this the right way to do it?
Top marks, Adam. Yes, it is. That is exactly how you should do it, especially given that you've got the break in your financial years. Do issue an invoice for the deposit and issue an invoice for the balance. And actually, that's a very good point that Adam raises in terms of when you should invoice. Do think about the possibility of invoicing for all or part of what you're due before you deliver the service. You think if you go to the supermarket, then you have to pay before you can eat any of the fruit you buy or whatever it is you're buying. So do consider asking for part payment up front, because that not only lessens your cash flow risk, it also means that you're sure the customer's committed to your project. The customer won't turn around and say, oh, can't be bothered, and walk away if they've already parted with several £100s. So do consider taking all or part payment up front. If that's going to worry your customers, you could think about offering a money back guarantee.
Okay, I think we'll go to the other Adam Humphrey. He says, I have a client for whom I have, say, 15 live projects. Can I issue one monthly invoice to that client rather than 15 using FreeAgent, i.e. client level invoicing?
Adam, I'm afraid you're out of luck. At the moment, that wouldn't be possible unless you changed the project 15 times on your invoice to pull through all the data. But then the invoice would actually show as just relating to the last project. So that's a bit of a clumsy workaround, to be perfectly honest. We are though working on that. So hopefully that should be available in the not too distant future. But I can't promise when, I'm afraid.
Right. Sorry about that. Next is a question from Sarah, who says, hi, great work, guys. Love these webinars, hangouts, and FreeAgent.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Just something that I do that may help others is offering discounts if they pay within 14 days rather than the full 30 days.
Yep.
Is that a good idea? Most customers take it and pay immediately. However, I do unfortunately get non-payers.
Well, if it works for you, Sarah, then I think it is a good idea. Do proceed with caution when you're offering discounts, because if you offer discounts, then possibly it could come across as you not thinking your service is worth the full amount. So what you might want to do is say that you're offering a discount, but make the discounted price the price that you would actually like to charge. So say you want to get £500 for what you're offering. Say that £500 is the discounted price and 600 is the full price. One possible scheme you could use, because, as I say, by offering discounts, it can potentially make customers think that you don't really think you're worth the full amount. So just proceed with a little bit of caution. But equally, it's better to get £500 quickly than to be chasing for 600. So that's the opposite side to that coin. So think carefully about, well, what image of your brand do you want to present, and also think about how much do you want to get quickly, how valuable is getting paid promptly to you. A couple of other points around that. One thing you can do is factoring, is to actually get an invoice factoring company to collect payment from your customers. You would then get the money quicker, but you only get 80% of it. The factoring company tends to keep about 20%. So if cash flow is a problem, that's one aspect you could look at. And the other aspect is, in terms of encouraging your customers to pay promptly, a discount is one scheme you could use, or you could perhaps offer, I remember my old employer used to do what they call a prompt payers prize draw. Every month, anybody who paid their invoice early got put into a brand tub, and then they do a draw, pick names out of the brand hub to see who got something like a nice meal out for two at a local hotel, or a trip in a hot air balloon, or whatever it might be, or a nice box of chocolates or something like that. That's your other option. Use a different incentive rather than discounting to get people to pay promptly.
Excellent. And I suppose it depends on how much you're thinking of discounting as well.
Yes,
always make
exactly.
sure it's, if you are going to go that way, make sure it's something that you can afford.
Oh, yes, exactly. Adrian's right, because of course giving discounts could potentially put a dent in your cash flow. So just make sure it's not too big a dent.
Good. We've got a question here from Adam.
Another Adam.
It's 3 now.
We like Adams.
He says, I charge businesses a monthly recurring fee for my services. What's the most efficient way of charging them? Do I invoice every month or set up a direct debit? Any help?
The answer, Adam, is both of them. What I would suggest you do is in FreeAgent use the recurring invoice profile and couple that up with the automatic new invoice emails, because what that will do is automatically every month it will send the invoices to your clients for payments. Do set up a direct debit scheme as well, perhaps use Go Cardless to do that, and then you can issue your invoices in FreeAgent and track the payments as they come in.
Excellent. Sorry, I did also forget to say to Sarah as well, thank you very much for sharing that tip.
Yes, thank you. That was useful.
So yeah, if anyone else watching has any tips as well that they want to share that could help anyone out, then do write them in. The Q&A widget is currently going. As I say, we're getting questions coming, but these sessions are always so much better when we're getting the volume of questions coming through.
Absolutely, yes.
And it makes it more exciting for us.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Pressing on, we've got a question from Clive, who says, after an invoice has been sent, occasionally I'll need to amend it when I make a mistake. Very much in brackets there. I don't know that I can edit a sent invoice, so what would you recommend in this case?
Well, the answer is, Clive, you can edit a sent invoice. What you would do is, in FreeAgent, you would go to the invoice, which you can find either under Work and Invoicing, or under the Contact, or under the Project. Find the invoice and click the Make Draft button on the invoice. Then click Edit at the top right, and you can make any changes that you want to. You can change the invoice items, you can perhaps change the customer's name if you spelt it wrong. Whatever your change is, you could make it then, resend the invoice, and job's done.
Excellent. While we're waiting for other questions to come in, and as I say, if you're watching, please do put them up and ask us anything that you want to.
Absolutely.
Preferably on invoicing and getting paid, but if there's something else that you really desperately want to ask, then put it down as well. We touched very briefly and mentioned earlier on the question of multi-currency. Now, at FreeAgent, you may know that we've just introduced multi-currency banking.
We have indeed,
which is a really big thing. We're really happy about it, and we've had a lot of very, very positive feedback from people saying that they love us for doing it. So we thought that what we'd do is actually just focus a little bit on if you're using FreeAgent for multi-currency banking, how do you invoice in multiple currencies as well? So we've got a few questions there which we'll just run through.
Absolutely.
And hopefully that'll give you a little bit of pointers if that's something that you're thinking of doing or you currently do and you want to know how to do it with FreeAgent.
Yeah. Oh, we've got another. That's a pleasure, Sarah. And you'd like a FreeAgent mug? Do you think
She'd like a FreeAgent mug.
Do you think we can send Sarah a FreeAgent mug?
We'll have a word with the FreeAgent Fairy and see what we can do. See what we can do.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so on the multi-currency front, I think we'll start off and just say, first question, am I allowed to invoice my customers in a currency other than my usual one?
Absolutely you are. You are indeed, yes. And I think the next question that you're going to ask me, Adrian, is how many currencies can I invoice my customers in?
Certainly.
The honest answer is as many as you like. But just to warn you, that can be a little bit of a pounding headache when it comes to actually collecting the money from those customers. Unless you're going to have a PayPal account and be able to collect money from all those customers, then it's perhaps a good idea to limit yourself to one or two currencies that are commonly used. For example, what we do at FreeAgent is we invoice our British customers in pounds sterling and we invoice our worldwide customers outside the UK in US dollars, because just about everybody can use US dollars. Bear in mind too that there are some currencies which may not be easily accepted by someone like PayPal, by a site like PayPal. So if you're invoicing worldwide, it can can often make sense to pick perhaps a small handful of currencies, perhaps pounds, US dollars and euros, depending on where you're based. For example, if you're in the US, you might well want to invoice in Canadian dollars as well. But as I say, pick a few rather than going for everything.
Okay. Next question. Do I have to show on the invoices the amount in my usual currency as well?
It's a good idea. In the UK, what HMRC say is that you have to show VAT in pounds sterling. They don't actually say that you have to show the amount of the invoice itself in pounds sterling, but I would say it probably is good practice to do that.
Okay. Next question. Which exchange rate should I use? There are loads of them.
There are indeed loads of them, yes. Even if you go into a bank, you see loads and loads of different exchange rates. Well, we've had a look at what HMRC say and what the financial reporting head honchos say, and they say that any reasonable commercial rate should be all right. So we used xe.com, which is a very creditable website, so I would recommend using xe.com or o&a.com or one of those providers. And xe.com is fully programmed into FreeAgent. We update the rates on a daily basis, so you don't have to worry about translation. We do that for you.
Okay. Next question. What are my options for collecting payment in a foreign currency?
That's a very good question. If you're going to collect payment in a foreign currency, then you're either going to need a bank account in the currency of your choice, which is why it's perhaps a good idea to limit the number of currencies you're going to collect payment in. So, for example, you might have a dollar bank account and a euro bank account, and your bank should be able to help you get set up with that. The other alternative is to use an online provider like PayPal, which allows you to accept payments in most currencies, but not all. Watch out for the more obscure ones. And that will then allow you to take the payment in that and then either keep the payment in that currency or translate it straight into sterling. It's up to you. Just watch out for exchange rate fluctuations, because obviously the more, for example, the more euros a pound is worth, then it can be better to keep the currency on one side or the other. So just watch out for that and make sure you're not stung too heavily for currency rate exchanges.
Okay, and a very final multi-currency question is, how do I show foreign currency invoices in my accounts?
Right, well, there's a couple of things you need to think of. The good news is, though, FreeAgent will do this automatically for you. When you issue an invoice, then you have to, if it's in a foreign currency, you have to translate it into sterling as at the invoice date. And then when that money is sitting as money owed by your customers, you have to keep revaluing the amount that your customers owe you, because the exchange rate changes every single day. For example, you might have an invoice worth X amount of euros today, worth X amount of euros that's going to be worth Y amount of pounds today, but Z amount of pounds tomorrow. So you need to change that value in your what's called your trade debtors account, which is the account for money owed by your customers. But the good news is FreeAgent will do that for you. And if you are collecting money in foreign currencies, then it's also important to remember you have to do that with your bank account as well. So you have to remember to revalue the balance on your foreign currency bank account. But again, as I say, FreeAgent will do that for you.
Okay. Do you have a couple of new questions in? I'm not too sure whether we're actually going to be able to answer these or not, but
well,
we'll
pose
them past Emily first. Very first off, though, Clyde's come back and says, thanks very much for answering my question.
That's a pleasure.
You're absolutely welcome. First one here is from David, who says, have you got any advice about transitioning from self-employment in the UK to Europe? He's going to become fully resident in a new country. Obviously, probably can't answer for the new tax system, but what's essential to tie up in the UK first?
That is a very good question, David. I've actually had a client emigrate in the not too distant past, so hopefully I can give you some pointers. Firstly, do tell HMRC that you're leaving. There's a special form you can use to do that, or otherwise you can just pop it on your tax return to say that you're leaving. If you're leaving the UK in order to work overseas, that usually means that your residence in the UK finishes as soon as you leave, which means that your worldwide income is no longer chargeable to UK tax. Just any income that you might earn from trading or selling something or whatever it may be in the UK would be subject to UK tax once you become non-resident. So what I would suggest to you, David, is do check out HMRC's guidance about leaving the UK, because there is now what they call a statutory residence test, which gives pointers for when are or aren't you resident in the UK. As I say, if you're leaving to live and work and work abroad. Work abroad is actually the crucial point there. If you're leaving to work abroad, and certainly self-employment used to be treated exactly the same as taking up employment abroad. I'm not 100% certain it still is. So as I say, check HMRC's guidance. If you go to hmrc.gov.uk and put in residence, then that will help. Residence for tax purposes. As I say, make sure HMRC know you're leaving the UK. Make sure they know if you're going to close your UK business, make sure that you notify them of that as well. Again, you can do that on your tax return. And do check HMRC's guidance on residence and leaving the UK for where your new income might be chargeable to tax.
Okay, we've got time for a couple more, I think, a couple more questions. So if you have anything that you desperately want to ask us, probably best to get in the next minute or so.
Yes, exactly.
Otherwise, we're going to just to stop on time. But we've got a question from Adam again, who says, I charge my customers in pounds sterling, but I have many outgoing costs in the US in US dollars. How can I get the best pound sterling to US dollar rate, as my business has about $5,000 going out every month?
Okay, I'm not. It's difficult for me to advise you on that, Adam. I'm not an investment expert, nor am I a foreign currency expert. My suggestion is, with that kind of type of payment, you might either be better to get yourself a dollar bank account. Alternatively, look at a site called TransferWise, who are fairly new on the block. You might have heard of them because Richard Branson's just invested a whole load of money in them. And what they do is they actually match when you need to send money abroad, they match you with someone who wants to send money to the UK. So basically, you would make a payment in pounds sterling on behalf of somebody who wants to make a payment in pounds sterling over here but is in the US. They make a payment in dollars on your behalf. So that's how TransferWise works. I would have a look at them because you may well get some good rates there.
Excellent. I think we might have a blog post about TransferWise up on our website.
Do we? Okay, great.
I think we might. As I say, if we have one, I will put it onto the onto the page. And if not, sorry.
Yeah, but you might well have seen their adverts. They're certainly all over London Underground with things using currency symbols to show that they think bank charges are too high for foreign currency and that it's a better idea to use their services. So do check them out, Adam. They might well help you.
Okay, I think we'll do one very final one, which actually we had on a Q&A last week.
Yep.
Which I'm going to take and sort of tailor a little bit. So if you have sent an invoice and it is overdue and it's not been paid by your client, do you have to resend them that invoice? And if so, is there a way of doing that in FreeAgent?
There certainly is a way of doing that in FreeAgent. When you send the automatic invoice reminder emails, they will always have a copy of the invoice attached. So that way you don't waste more time by the client saying, oh, Adrian, can you just send me a copy of that invoice, please? And that takes more delay till your payment's received. If you can actually use the FreeAgent automatic invoice reminders, they will always have a copy of the invoice attached as a PDF so that your client hasn't got that excuse of, oh, I can't find the invoice.
I suppose if you have multiple invoices that are currently outstanding as well, then it's always a good idea to actually have a system in place that you can see them all.
Exactly.
So that you know, it's so easy to have something fall through the cracks because you don't have that visibility of them all the time. So yeah, we'd probably recommend doing that, and you can totally have that with FreeAgent. So
yeah, so because you just set up an automatic invoice reminder for each one, and you can also use your Monday motivator to see if you've got invoices overdue, and you can have a look on your overview screen to look for the big red bars on the invoice timeline. And you could go to work and invoicing and check for any invoices that are open or overdue. So there's plenty of places you can find out who's not paying you.
Okay, I think as it's now 3 minutes past 1, that's probably a good place to start. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming around and asking your questions.
Thanks very much.
As we said, it's always brilliant when that happens, when you come through and ask us stuff, because it keeps us on our toes, and
it certainly does,
and it makes the sessions better and hopefully more useful for anyone coming and watching the video afterwards as well. So thank you very much for that. I know a few of you have said thanks for answering your questions. No, always a pleasure. As I said, we do regular Q&As every week up on our Google Plus and Facebook page as well, so keep a lookout on both of those. The Facebook page is FreeAgent app, all one word, and you're on Google Plus, so you can find us there. So if you're not already following our page, then do so. And we post up. We usually there'll be like a monthly kind of topic that we'll be doing, but they're individual sort of different things each week. So keep a lookout, and we'll let you know what's going to be on that week for that session, and come and get involved. And we'll be doing another one of these next month. Other than that, for a very, very quick plug, we'll just say if you're using FreeAgent already, brilliant. You can have a 30-day trial straight away. Go and have a look. If you think it's something that you would really benefit from to use to manage your business accounts, your invoicing, all that kind of stuff, just have a look. No, you can go play around with it for 30 days, see if you like it.
Absolutely right.
And as well, if you think you're currently too small to use all of that, but you need something for your invoicing in particular, we also have a free invoicing tool called Invoicematic, which if you go to invoicematic.io, it's completely free.
Yep.
Completely free web-based invoicing tool. So go on and use it. And as I said, no obligation or anything. It's just totally free to use. So play around. I think he's on Twitter as well, at Invoicematic. So if you can follow him there as well, that would be great. Emily, thank you very much for joining us again, and hopefully we will see you all next time we do one of these.
Certainly.
Thanks very much.
Take care, folks.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.